ho, 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 and welcome to the bestseller experiment, where we continue to discover what makes a bestseller and inspire you to start, finish, and publish your book. Ho, 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 I'm Santa Claus.
And I'm Santa's little helper. And you know what? I do look forward to the Christmas episode every year, Mark, just for that voice.
For my Brian Blessed impersonation. Gordon's alive!
I think we should randomly do that in the middle of July one year just to confuse people.
Yeah, we should. We should.
That'd be great,
I met Brian Blessed once, you know. Was it when we opened? I think it might have been when we opened Waterstones in Epsom. He was our special guest who opened the shop, and he just climbed Everest. He had a book about climbing Everest, and he'd done it without oxygen. And he was fan-bloody-tastic. He was everything you wanted. He was exactly...
Had the big beard.
Big beard, the big voice. And when they took a photo of us, and I don't have any photos, but they're out there somewhere. So if anyone knew me at Waterstones and Epsom as a photo of me with Brian Blessed, I'd love to have it. Because what he would say, you know, the person taking the photo, this was before digital cameras, they go 3, 2, 1, and he'd go, Knickers! And we'd all just fall about laughing. It was absolutely brilliant. I love the guy.
Oh, if there was almost a perfect Santa Claus, it would be Brian Blessed. And you know what? If he had just climbed Everest, I'm sure he probably had the white beard as well. It would be absolutely perfect. But happy Christmas to all of our listeners. Happy Christmas, yes. Mr. Stay. And we've for those people who are unable to see us on YouTube, you're missing out, folks, because we've got the Christmas sweaters. Mark's got...
I've got a new one. Look, it's an R2-D2 one with antlers.
It says, Merry Force be with you. Very on key there, Mr. Stay. Love it. I've stuck with my very interesting...
lovely penguin with a dicky bow.
It's a penguin with a dicky bow on it. It's absolutely awful. But I love it. It's my ugly Christmas sweater. It comes out once a year. And I will wear it in the spirit of this. But happy Christmas, everyone. If you're listening to this, maybe you're listening to this and you've already had your Christmas dinner. And you're settling into like, what better way to spend Christmas Day afternoon than listening to the Bestseller Experiment podcast?
Who needs
crazy
friends
people.
And family?
What are you doing? Get the Quality Street open. And I was going to say put on the Queen's speech, but it won't be the Queen's speech this year. Will it be the King's speech?
King's speech, yeah.
Wow,
yeah.
That's going to be interesting.
They did a film about that.
I've been joined by certain guests. So Mark, I believe you've got something lined up for me, haven't you? Well, I tell and our listeners, of course.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can all join in with this. This is the Bestseller Experiment Super Duper Christmas Quiz 2022. So I've got 10 questions based on episodes that we had in the year 2022, and I'm going to be testing Mr. D's knowledge and check out if he's actually been paying attention to any of the stuff that's come up this year.
Can I just put a big disclaimer out there right from the outset, and that is if you get a higher score than me, you're very welcome, because I expect that's going to happen. But I'm looking forward to this. I'm up for it, Mr. Stay. I love this. This is like, do you know what I miss about not being in England? One of my favourite things in the world, the good old pub quiz.
We don't have,
like, for people who don't live in the UK, and maybe it's a tradition that has expanded, but the little village pub quiz on a Tuesday night with that one team that you can never beat.
Yes.
And pub quizzes ruined all over the world by access to the internet and smartphones. But anyway, we won't go there. I love a good pub quiz. So when you told me you'd prepared a little quiz for the year, I thought, fantastic, bring it on. Love it.
Don't get this isn't pub quiz level. This isn't.
Oh, really?
I have done quizzes. And to name drop massively, I did a
Brian
quiz.
Blessed again.
No. Julie Walters and Michael Palin, right? I did a quiz at the Orion sales conference, and I massively misjudged it. It went on far too long, and it was with all the famous people in the room as well. And we were into hour 4 or something, and I was reading out a question, and I said, how long? And Julie Walters from the crowd went, not as long as this bloody quiz. So I've been... Not only has Julie Walters read an audiobook based on my short story this year, she's heckled me at a quiz as well. Right. So me and Julie, we're like that, we are.
There's not many people that can say that, that's for certain.
No, and also the next day, there were two, because I think George Harrison had recently died. So it must have been 2002, 2003. And I had at least 2 questions in the quiz about George Harrison. And Michael Palin there, who was friends with George Harrison, because George Harrison put the money up for Life of Brian and created Handmade Films, which did so many of Michael's subsequent movies.
Yeah.
And Michael Palin the next day was giving a talk about one of his books, I think it was his first volume of diaries. And he said, and George Harrison, who was mentioned several times in last night's quiz. And I thought, oh, shit. So, yeah, I've embarrassed myself in front of Michael Palin and Julie Waters. Big name drops. So, yeah, I can do that all day long.
Well, talking about the length of quizzes, I think that's why they have quizzes in pubs. Because if you were to do the quiz in a pub, they would definitely have to kick you out by 11 last odds, right? So that's a time limit, so, yeah.
Right.
But just to let people know, this isn't going to be a 4-hour quiz, is it? This is going to be quite a...
It's 10 questions. 10 questions.
All right, bring it on,
double,
folks.
Absolute
You're
double.
going to I'm really worried.
And these are all episodes that we've had this year. So, it should be fresh in your memory. What was it?
Yeah, only 12 months ago. I'm sure I remember
52 episodes plus deep. I've done a couple of deep dive questions. Yeah,
brilliant. Bring it on.
Right, here we go. So, on episode 371, which I'm sure you've got logged away there.
I can, off the top of my mind, I know that was that author, wasn't it? That we had on that time. Yes.
Okay, episode 371. Best-selling author Kathy Bramley had a book launch in a peculiar location. For your first point, name the location.
You said this was going to be easy. Okay. I think I remember. Hang on.
See, I knew you would. I knew you'd get it.
It was a telephone box.
Yes!
Yay!
Point one.
Red letter. I remember it. Red letter telephone box in her, and I can see the picture in my mind. It's in her village, and they turned the telephone box into a book library.
Yes, well done. Very good.
She wrote to the mayor who came along, and
it's all flooding back now.
Oh my god!
All flooding
the useless information you remember. No disregard. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Brilliant.
There's a
episode
great
371 if you want to check that out, folks.
Yeah, that was brilliant. That was a highlight of the year. That was fantastic.
Good. See,
and to everyone, and it is not as bad as I thought. To everyone who has one of those little book things outside one of their book little mini libraries outside. These are cropping up all over the place locally.
We've got one up the road. Phone books.
I
one
love
up the
it.
road. It's fantastic.
I love it. I always stop by our local one and I have a little peek in, and I stick a book in there, and then on my way. And I love it. I think it's such a brilliant thing. So to anyone who's done that, or anyone thinking of doing it as a New Year's resolution, go for it. Great idea.
Yes. Best idea ever. Right. So episode 376. Our special guest, our special guest was Martin Latham, author of A Bookseller's Tale. Martin is the manager of which bookshop?
Oh, it's too easy, Mr. Stone. Too easy. I remember this episode. I'll let people think about it. They can write down their answers. You got a few. I'll shortlist it for you. It's a UK bookstore for all our American and Canadian, Australian, South African, wherever you're in the world. But no, I remember this one because it was an absolutely brilliant episode. He was one of the funniest guests I think we had this year. He was he's like, well, I think if I remember rightly, we talked in the post about how he has missed a career in stand-up comedy because he's so brilliant. But he is the manager of Waterstones in Kent, I believe.
Canterbury, yes,
Canterbury. That's right, Canterbury.
Yes, he is. And he is Waterstone's longest-serving manager. And the other thing we discovered in that episode is he's got the highest, the most expensive petty cash claim that the chain has ever. And if you want to find out why, you'll have to check out the episode 376. So brilliant! You're 2 for 2 now, Mr.
2 for 2.
This is very, very good. Very, very good.
This is like a penalty shootout in the World Cup final in England, by the way.
Who's going to blink first? Yeah.
Go for it.
Episode 378. Our special guest was Tim Sullivan, who is not only a best-selling author, he directed the film Jack and Sarah, he wrote the first draft of Shrek 4, and he also wrote which 2021 animated movie featuring four-legged heroes.
Yes. I'm feeling very confident about this.
These are good, aren't they? Yeah, this is good.
These are great. These are really good fun, actually. I remember that episode because it was the most bizarre based on what he writes, it was the most bizarre thing to come out. And I believe it was the Hollywood movie of My Little Pony.
Oh, first class. Brilliant. Yeah, My Little Pony, A New Generation.
A New Generation, sorry, yeah. I mean, maybe only half a point for not getting the full title.
Yeah, no, that was brilliant. I mean, Tim was a great guest and he's had such an extraordinary career. And yes, he wrote the first draft of Shrek 4, which never got made. And I remember telling my son is an aficionado of the Shrek films. And when I told him what Shrek 4 was like, he was like, oh, why didn't they make that instead? But Tim is now, best-selling thriller writer and he's very good on Instagram as well, Instagram and TikTok. So do check him out.
A little bit of Shrek trivia for you.
Yes,
Mark.
go on.
One of my co-writers musically, Stephen Barton, who's now a big famous Hollywood movie producer and does lots of big video games. He wrote some of the music in Shrek.
Wow.
Yeah, that's one of his first gigs. Yeah, one of his first gigs. He got to write with Harry Gregson Williams, who did the music for Shrek. Yeah. He wrote a lot of the music in Narnia as well as an assistant. Wow. So yeah, but I love it. And weirdly enough, I was going through Christmas DVDs. Like we still have DVDs over here in Canada, and I was actually clearing out a few things because I wanted to give some stuff to the thrift store for people to buy for their kids and stuff for Christmas. And I came across all of the Shrek movies. I have them on PAL and NTSC. So I have.
Oh, really?
I'm not just like I've got a double set. So if I'm in the UK, I can watch the UK version, and if I'm in North America, it's a pain in the butt, to be honest, because if you get mixed up, it's a nightmare. But I also came across the Shrek Christmas special, which I completely forgotten about. So it's on a pile. Because we like to always do it, Christmas puzzles and Christmas movies in the house. That's the big thing in the DeVoe household over Christmas. So we'll be putting on the Christmas special from Shrek, which I haven't seen it in a few years, but I remember it was very, very funny.
I don't have many regrets in life, but one of them is buying, I think it was Shrek 2 in a special case that when you opened it, it had one of those little recorded things where it's got Eddie Murphy going, Shrek and Donkey on another whirlwind adventure. Whenever you open it, Shrek and Donkey on another whirlwind adventure. 15 times a day. Shrek and Donkey on another whirlwind. And it drove me absolutely nuts.
Do you know what though, Mark? That's probably worth an absolute fortune.
Yeah, it might be.
Because I was going through Wii games as well. And I thought, I'm going to give all these to the thrift store. And I thought, I wonder if there's anything in there which is like a collectible. And there was a Club Penguin.
Club Penguin. Remember that? Remember that? That was back in the days. The NFT of its days, wasn't it?
It was the kids like penguins, I think, doing snow races down the hill was one of the things I seem to remember them making me play when I didn't understand what was going on. But and it's kind of Christmas themed, you got this. But yeah, apparently if you got the Wii version of Club Penguin, something I can't remember what it's called now, but it's worth about like $500 that one Wii game. So
God,
who knew? Unfortunately for the thrift store, I had the $2 version, which is the one everyone else has. But anyway,
well, my son is constantly trading games with a store in the UK. It's a chain where you can go in and trade games, and it's spelled CEX but pronounced sex. So my son is constantly going, oh, yeah, I'm just going to the sex store. It's like, George.
And
not when Granny and Grandad are here.
And I bet you that wasn't planned at all when they were thinking of names of things that would go down well. Brilliant. Love it stuff. All right, let's rock on.
Right. You're on a roll here, Mr. D. You're on a roll. I think you're going to get this one. This is a nice, easy one.
Go on then.
But yeah. So episode 383. Andrew Chapman was our special guest. What is unique about the way that he wrote his novel, The Mask Collector?
Oh, how can I forget this one? How can I forget? This was actually probably one of the most brilliant moments of this year because if I remember rightly, it came from a off-the-cuff comment that we made on the podcast.
Yeah.
Andrew Chapman decided, having listened to the podcast, that he was going to attempt to write an entire novel in 24 hours. And we're not talking 24 hours, over the day, but literally writing for 24 hours. And I believe the book is here. It's all here, isn't it? The Bone Collector.
The Bone Collector, yes.
Was that
good.
right?
The Mask, no.
The Mask Collector. Sorry, Andrew.
Sorry, Andrew.
I knew it was the something collector.
It was in the question. I said it in the
At
question.
least I didn't say
Collector.
bow selector or something like that. Yeah, the Mask Collector. I can see it, and it went to. Whilst he was writing it, it started trending on Twitter. Remember, his lovely partner was out there doing stuff on social media, and he actually jumped above, I believe, Stephen King.
Yeah.
In one of the pre-release charts, and then when he released it, he got one of those lovely little orange bestseller badges. So, and this was one of our listeners on the bestseller experiment. So, yeah, Andrew, brilliant, and highlight of the year for me, Mark. You got to make these harder. You got to make these harder.
Definitely. All right. Okay. So, next question. It's question 5. Halfway there. Episode 392. Our special guest was David Lee Stone, who had an extraordinary story where he got this incredible book deal. Do you remember where he was working when he heard about this book deal? Oh, I think I've stumped him. Listeners.
Do you know what? You know why I can't remember this straight? I think I know it, but it's a 1 or 2, because we had someone else write in once and tell us that something about they were working it in. Now, this isn't my answer, by the way, but somebody wrote into us, I think, and said that they did late night shifts in a supermarket.
Right.
And,
yes.
And they listened to the podcast and it helped them get through the night. And so my mind instantly went, oh, he worked in a supermarket. I thought, no, hang on a minute. He didn't work in a supermarket. I think he worked in a video store.
Oh, it's good.
Was it Blockbusters?
I think it was
Blockbusters.
Yes. Oh, look at that. 5
and he had to escape out the back.
He did, because of all the press.
Because of all the press, because it was one of the largest advances. Is that right? It was one of the largest advances.
It was on the news.
It was ridiculous.
It was really big news, yeah. And that's one of my favourite episodes of the year. And I've become sort of friends with David and his family and everything. And he's, he's a bit of a legend around here.
This is a great quiz, Mark, because it just makes us realise all the amazing stories that have come out of this year.
It's almost as if it's been designed that way, Mr. D.
Almost. I love it. Bring it on. All right.
Right. Episode 399. Our special guest was the author Alyssa Suave. Which much-loved food brand is featured in her novel Ginger and Me? And to give you an extra clue, this food brand's factory is based near Undingston, near Glasgow.
Oh, do you know what? If you hadn't have put that last bit in, I might have not got it. But do you know what? I'm struggling to remember the name. Okay, I'm going to give people a little bit of time to write down their answers before I mess it all up for them. What are they called? Okay, it's a classic Scottish confectionery item. Comes wrapped.
Yep.
I know that it's a biscuit or a shortbread, kind of. And what's the name of it? It's something like Kinnocks.
You're so close.
I know. I can see it in my mind, and I can't.
We shamelessly tried to get them to sponsor the podcast. We were tagging them on social media and everything.
Why can't I remember this? It's the classic Scottish biscuit, which everyone had growing up, and it's called.
Wouldn't you pay a ton to
a Tunnocks?
Yes!
Oh gosh,
Tunnocks wafers and Tunnocks tea cakes and everything.
That's where, and to be honest, I feel really sad that I got that wrong, because me and biscuits, my knowledge of biscuits is like as deep as bestseller experiment. I mean, honestly, how I couldn't get that one off the top of my tongue. But I think, to be honest, it's probably, that is now, seeing those types of things, having lived in Canada for over 10 years, Mark, we had our 10-year anniversary, over 10 years since I've kind of been around that stuff. So every time I come back to England, the last time I was in England, Mark, when I got to the airport, I went into WH Smith's. This is so sad. I went into WH Smith's at the airport. I've just flown, I've been up for 18 hours. I'm jet lagged. First thing I did, WH Smith, and I took a photo of all of the chocolate bars to send the kids going, oh, and not just a photo, but one that they could literally zoom in and look at every single bar. And they were like, what's this orange twirl thing? Didn't even know that. So yeah.
It's a classic of the genre.
So
classic twist on an old favourite.
What I failed to do though is didn't take a photo of all the biscuits, in which case I would have got that answer 100%. But brilliant. Well, if you got that one though, you're a better man than I am, or woman.
No, you did well. You did well. Now this one is a tough one. Okay, so episode 404. Our special guest was Aggie Bloom Thompson. Wonderful guest, absolutely brilliant. Now, her dog featured on social media when she was launching her book, and the dog is named after her favourite flavour of ice cream. What? And it's mine too, actually. What is the name of the dog and her favourite ice cream?
Do you know what? When you first mentioned the dog, I remember, and this is not fair. This isn't a fair. We have so many pets.
This is a hard one.
And so many pets and authors. And we had one. You see, the problem is we recently, between now and 404, we had a pet called Cinnamon, but that's not an ice cream, is it? So it wasn't Cinnamon, but there was an author with a dog called Cinnamon recently, and now I can't think of it. Okay, hang on a minute. It's not mint choc chip. It's not vanilla. It's not chocolate because that's too obvious. It's not tutti frutti because that would be an awesome name for a dog. Butterscotch? No. Oh God.
Sorry, it's a very difficult question. I'm taking the piss.
Oh, hang on. No, not Neapolitan. I'm scraping the end of the ice cream bowl there.
I'm taking the piss.
Pistachio.
Yes!
Jeez. I knew
That's
it.
a tough one. That is a tough one.
That was a good question. If anyone got that's top marks. That's getting into detail. Pistachio, of course. Yeah, and it's a great ice cream. It's green, isn't it? And it has the nuts in it.
Nuts
I haven't had pistachio ice cream in years.
It's really good. We've got a very good ice cream place called Macari's in Herne Bay, which does a fantastic pistachio.
Do you know what I did have last night though, Mark? Candy cane ice cream.
Oh, I'm not sure.
It's really good. It doesn't sound good, but it's really good. It's like peppermint. It's actually bits of crushed candy cane.
Right.
In a kind of it's like mint choc chip, but instead of the choc, you get the candy cane crushed. And I'll tell you what, it's like a bun fight at the supermarket when it comes out, because it's a limited edition. It comes out in December.
Right.
And I think it must be a family tradition for a lot of people in North America, because, if you get that last tub, you'd be there, someone will be hitting you with their TV that they've grabbed just to get the ice cream. So very
limited
nice.
edition. Yeah. What have we come to?
What are your writing dreams? Finishing that book, quitting the day job, becoming a best-selling author? Well, over 4 years, we've studied the advice of over 300 best-selling authors who've collectively sold over 500 million books. And we are excited to announce the Bestseller Academy. If you're ready to take your writing to the next level with accountability, craft, and coaching, your bestseller dreams are now only a click away. To find out more and apply, visit bestsellerexperiment.com/academy. That's bestsellerexperiment.com/academy.
3 more questions to go. So question number 8. This is episode 405. We did a deep dive with Susie Edge, where she was talking about TikTok and how she's mastered TikTok. So absolutely great feedback on this, absolutely cracking deep dive. But whose death meant that I decided to record a special introduction to the episode?
Well, this was one of the big events of the year, wasn't it? Because I remember what I loved about
this deep dive. Yes, it was.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. What I remember about, what I found incredibly fascinating about Susie, who's also a patron and is in the BXP team, which is great. So everyone gets to chat with her every day, is that she had the most phenomenal rise to fame on TikTok. for someone who said she didn't wear a bikini, and dance around but she got like millions of views on TikTok, and it's absolutely brilliant. And the timing of the episode was uncanny, wasn't it? Because it was the Queen that passed away, and she wrote about the deaths of British monarchs.
Royals, yeah. The book is called Mortal Monarchs. And I remember when sort of a week or 10 days before it was announced the Queen had died, Susie was saying that she was having conversations with a publisher about, God, do we even publish this,
Right.
And do we change the blurb and things like that? So there was a whole conversation going around about that. So I did, we recorded the episode before the Queen died, but the episode went out after she died. So I figured,
wow,
I better make it clear to people, because it's a really fun interview, and Susie and I are having a good laugh, but I didn't want people to think that we were sort of, having a laugh at the expense of the Queen. So yeah, good one. Very good. Okay.
So that was one of the coincidences of the year, I'd say. The fact, what are the chances? But
yeah,
amazing
absolutely.
stuff,
Absolutely. And it's a cracking book as well. A really, really good book. So Mortal Monarchs, do check it out. Right. Question 9. Episode 406, we had the legendary Scott Turow come on, author of Presumed Innocent, massive bestseller. But he's also played with which author rock and roll supergroup whose members include Stephen King, Amy Tan, Dave Barry, and many others who've come in and out over the years. So this is a rock and roll supergroup made up of best-selling authors. What are they called? What's the name of the band?
You've got me, Mr. Stone. You're just waiting till episode 9 to really nail it in. When you said Scott's name, I thought, the answer's going to be Presumed Innocence. I know that. But then you said Presumed, I was like, no. And then when you said about the band, I thought you were going to say, I was going to have to say Stephen King, because he's obviously in the band.
Yeah.
What I do remember about the band, though, whilst I desperately try and think of their name, is that the name is very ironic, and it's about how bad they are.
Yes, yes. Keep going.
So it's something to do with blues?
What happens, right? Think of a book's life cycle, okay? Book is published, goes into bookshops. Not all of them sell. So what happens to those books that don't sell?
They either get pulped, or they go into the bargain basement, the bargain bin.
And what's that bin called?
The bin is called the... Oh, no.
Sorry, this is really hard.
I don't know. I can't...
Shall I put you out of your misery?
Put everyone out of them. And no, in fact, there's probably loads of people screaming right now going, yes.
The band is called The Rock Bottom Remainders.
Oh, yes. Brilliant question. Oh, love it.
Right, final question, and then we'll put you out of your misery. And this is really hard. Okay, question 10. How many words has Mark Hood written since starting his word count tracker on his website? And I'll accept any number to the closest 1,000. Now, I want to see your hands. I don't want you suddenly Googling this, right? Because I've got it here in front of me. Right, so Mark Hood,
okay,
long-term support of the podcast, fantastic author of The Return of the Martians, which is a fantastic sequel to War of the Worlds. He also does his brilliant Jacob's War and The Fairies Want Me Dead, which is coming soon. But he is one of our greatest exponents of the 200 words a day thing. He writes every day. He has written for 1,086 days at the time of recording. Yeah, so there's a clue for you.
I'll just do that in my head.
Yeah, do that in your head. Because you remember he was doing about an average of 600 words a day, wasn't he?
Oh,
so yeah.
Okay. So, I remember the episode where he had written to us, written on the group, that he had hit the 500,000 mark. And then it gets really confusing, because we have our other insane writer who has done over 1 million. So there's a bit of a trick question there. So it's definitely over somewhere between 500,000 and... But the thing is, I'm going to have to try and work out when it was 500,000, because I think it was a couple of months ago, maybe 3 months ago. So if we multiply 3 months by 600, that's 600 by 90, which is, 600 by 90 is 9,000 times 6, 54,000. So I'm going to go for 500,000 554,000.
No.
Poop.
Right. Today, and we're recording this, just to let you in on the clue, we're recording this mid-December, folks. So today, Mark Hood has written 704,655 words.
How did I get it so far out?
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. Absolutely amazing. So I'll put a link in the show notes so you can check out Mark Hood's website.
Almost 250,000. Brilliant.
Yeah, 750,000. Yeah.
So what does that say for my math, eh? I think I need to go back to school. It's brilliant.
No, I'd have been completely stumped by that. That's kind of an unfair question. But well done, Mr. D. That's a very good show. I love that.
Thank you for putting those questions together. And just as a little twist, Mark doesn't know this, but I've got a question for you, Mark. I've got a quiz question for you.
Oh, dear.
Yes. It's the Mark's Revenge. In the background, Mark, you will see a certain well-known character.
Yes.
For anyone listening to this in audio, it'd be a bit rubbish if I don't say who it is. It's actually Father Christmas. The very traditional Father Christmas, big white beard, big hat, and sack of presents over his shoulder. Do you know where the modern day Father Christmas, this image of Father Christmas, originated from?
Yes, from a Coca-Cola advertising campaign. Yeah.
Very good.
Well, it's my uncle used to work for Coke, and I went through a phase. He was a driver for Coca-Cola, and I went through a phase of becoming very nerdy about Coke and the history of Coke and where it all started, and I got into sort of looking at the history of it. And yes, our modern Santa Claus. Because the other thing is, in America, they don't really call him Father Christmas; they call him Santa Claus. That red and white thing comes from the Coke ad campaign.
Yeah. When I found that out, I was floored. I could not believe that it had come from a drink. I thought it had gone back years of history and folklore and.
Well, it's interesting because the next Woodville book taps into this, so I'm very tapped into where these kind of Krampus and Holly King and all these kind of old, there's always been a kind of a big bearded man who turns up at this time of year, and sometimes he can be quite malevolent, and sometimes he brings gifts and has jolly elves. So it's one of these things that's evolved over time, and it does fascinate me. So yeah, I'm into that.
Brilliant stuff. Excellent. Now I believe we put the call out for Christmas cracker jokes, didn't we? This was something we asked about.
Yes. And this is it's a very British tradition. I saw that the internet has gone wild at the moment because, Hallmark put out all these Christmas movies every year, and there are dozens of the things. And there was one, because we have Christmas crackers in the UK, and I think you have them in Canada, but they don't have them in the States. And there's a clip that's been going around from this film, and I've forgotten what the film's called, where you got this American couple, and he apparently has British heritage, and he says, we have a thing in the UK called Christmas crackers, and he gets this Christmas cracker out, which is for those who don't know, a little sort of cardboard tube with two handles. And what he does, he says, yes, and we do it after dinner. No, we don't. We do it before Christmas dinner. And he says, we pull the crackers and we share the things within. And then what he does is he grips both ends of the cracker himself and then pulls it apart. And everyone, every British person said, was there no one on the crew from England who could sit you down and go, that's not how we do it? No, you there's a whole competition.
Exactly.
Because you give it to your sibling, or whatever. And, the idea is whoever, and you each pull the cracker apart, from each other. And then whoever has the longest bit retains all the gifts in the cracker. So you get the little frog that goes boing, or a tiny pair of nail clippers,
sewing kit.
Sewing kit, or a compass that doesn't work.
Three small miniature cards that do some crap magic trick. And not to forget the forehead sweat hat, as I like to call it.
You get a paper crown, which you have to wear, otherwise everyone grumbles at you. And if you're in a hot environment, it will leave a coloured stain across your forehead, depending on how cheap
really
the paper
quite gross.
Is. Yeah.
And then you also find out which relatives have really, really big heads, because as they put it on, it usually rips down one side, and then they're
usually me,
feeling a bit kind of like left out. So brilliant stuff.
But also in each cracker, you get a terrible, terrible joke. And so we put the call out, and our listeners delivered with terrible, terrible jokes. So I don't know if we should do them all at once. I think it might just be too exhausting for the listener.
It probably would be.
Should we pepper them throughout?
Let's drag them out over next year, shall we? Go on, give me. I want to hear one to start with, though, before we go into our New Year's resolutions.
Jeevany sent this in, Jeevany Chirika, who said, what do you call an elf who depends on Santa Claus?
Self-elf?
A subordinate clause. See, it's one for the righteous there. It's one for the righteous.
Very good.
Brilliant. Thank you, Jeeve. Thank you very much.
Good.
Very good. Do you want another one?
Yeah, go on. Just getting into
Okay. This one's from Tracy Montague. What did one snowman say to the other?
I don't know. What did one snowman say to the other?
Is it me? Or do you smell carrots?
The old classic. Oh my gosh. I've got a modern day one here, Mark, for you.
Go on.
What does Miley Cyrus have at Christmas?
I don't know.
Twerky.
That's genuinely good.
That's actually good, isn't it? That's one you won't find in a Christmas cracker. Yeah. I've done a bit of research myself here. I've got a few more cheeky ones, like what do vampires sing on New Year's Eve?
I don't know.
Old Fang Sign, of course.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, not bad.
Brilliant
not
stuff.
bad.
Before everyone leaves us to do better things, we wanted to spend a little bit of time, as we always do this time of year, talking about your goals for next year, because this is the traditional time when most people firstly say, what the blooming hell happened to the last 12 months?
Yeah, especially when you get to our age. Blimey.
Well, it does, because I remember recording the Christmas special just last month, and now we're doing it again. But it's a really good time to take stock. And hopefully, my hope for everyone listening is that you'll get a little bit of time over this Christmas period to just think about what you want. Well, reflect. It's always important to reflect on the last year. We don't do that enough. We don't reflect backwards to think about the good things that happened and not so great things that happened and things we wanted to do, but we didn't manage to get time to do. And within our writing world, it encompasses so many different things. It might be habits that we wanted to establish or new habits we have established. It might be the book that we intended to finish, but we didn't even start, or we got halfway through and got stuck with it, or celebrating that we actually did hit some major milestones in our year. So reflection is really, really important this time of year. But as important is looking forward in both senses of the word to the next 12 months. Because we both know, don't we, this day, that when you set goals, when you actually write them down, when you actually put something down on paper, when you create a dream declaration, you actually increase the chances of it happening. And I know for a lot of people, firstly, to celebrate, I think we should take this moment just to celebrate all the wins that we've heard about this year.
Every week.
It's been bonkers, really, hasn't it? I would say of the 6 years we've been doing this show, this last 12 months has been insane for the amount of
best
celebration. Ever. Right, best ever. And not just a little bit, but by a country mile. So congratulations to everyone out there who achieved whatever it was that whether they were celebrating a small win or something major. Congratulations, because what, you take that with you, you can chalk that down, and as I say, no one can ever take that away from you. So either if you're building on the successes of this year, or you're just getting started and you want to reset, maybe let's have a think about goals for next year. And so we'll chuck out a few ideas, I think, for our listeners, Mark. One of them, obviously, for anyone who's not even started or heard of the 200-word challenge, it's a really easy way to start, isn't it? And I remember when we launched it on January the 1st, I think about 4 years ago now. And something about starting it at the beginning of January gives you the opportunity to keep going. I think when, you can do it any time, but there's something about starting at the beginning of the month saying, right, I'm going to try and do this for at least a week, 2 weeks, a month. If you can get to the end of January and you've written every day, there's a very, very high chance that you might end up writing for the whole year. As we've heard with Mark Hood and others that have written now for 3, 4, 5 years consistently. So I think that's a good start for 10, Mark, isn't it? The 200-word challenge. I
think I converted a couple of people at Christmas Fete a couple of weeks ago as well, because we just took. What happens is when you have a bookstore, the comment you get a lot is, I wonder if I've got a book in me. And I will always say, hey, look, we have this 200-word a day challenge. You should try it out. And very often people go, well, I haven't got time. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And I tell them about, the challenge and the fact that it takes maybe 20 minutes a day, take a little time out of your day. Surely you can find a little bit of time. And it's not about the words, it's about creating the habit. And once you have the habit, then the words come more readily and all. And you could see the light in their eyes as they thought, actually, you know what? I might actually be able to do this. And something fired up within them. Because, we do this over the airwaves and over podcasts. And we know that people do it because we see them on social media logging their words and spreading the word. But it was great to see someone in person going, maybe I can write a novel. Maybe that dream isn't some bonkers after all. And it was so great to see it happen in the flesh, So that was great. That was absolutely great. So yeah, if you're listening to this thinking, well, maybe I will give it a go. Give it a go. Do it.
Definitely. So if you listen to this now and it's it's Christmas week, pop along to 200wordchallenge.com and just register. If you've registered, then you've kind of committed yourself to doing it. And I think it takes 10 seconds to register. It's a free challenge. So do that and then put a note in your diary. If you don't want to do it straight away, I always recommend to people once you register, just go write 200 words and just, warm up, have a stretch. But if you're planning on starting on the 1st of January, then set yourself a reminder now in your calendar or your online, whatever app, whatever it might be. Set yourself a little recurring reminder, whatever time of day, and pick a time of day that you're going to try and do it as well. Don't just put it in your top of your day and do an all day thing. Actually pick a time, commit to it like it were a doctor's appointment. Show up for yourself, show up for your writing, and set a reminder to actually tell you to do it. I like to get an email reminder from Google Calendar. It works brilliantly, or a little text to your phone, just to ping it in there at that particular time. So that's a definite good way of managing it.
If you're on Twitter, look up the hashtag 200 words a day. I'm there. There's a whole bunch of us there. We log our words every day. We have a good laugh. We're sharing GIFs and all that kind of stuff. And we're all doing it in our own individual way. So look up that hashtag 200 words a day and I'll be there.
Yeah, fantastic. Absolutely brilliant. So that's the first thing I think we want to talk about. The second thing is I want to talk about goals. I want to talk about a different way of doing goals this year. Now, we all create to-do lists and we all have 1,000,001 things that we need to do with our books. But when we're talking top level, when we're talking about the goals that we want to create, this is the time of year to really put two things in place, some realistic goals and what I like to call dream goals, some daft things that you would never imagine happening in your world, but allowing yourself to go there. And this is the format for doing it. So we're going to do 5 goals in total. So if you've got pen and paper, and you can pause the podcast, we're not going to wait for you to write down your goals, but I want you to get pen and paper, maybe get your journal or your bullet journal somewhere where you can refer back and where it's going to be saved. Get your notes open on your phone, for example. And I want you to write down 3 goals that you would like to achieve with your writing in the next 12 months. 3 realistic, what you believe to be realistic goals. So those might be, to write so many words or to write so many times a week. It might be to finish a half-written novel. It might be to, write the first, ideas of a new series that you're putting together, whatever it might be for you. But try and think of 3 specific goals. And when you've done that, then I want you to have some fun with it. And I want you to write 2 extra goals, which are what I call off the chart goals. These are goals where, in your wildest imagination, as you're brilliant writers, you've got these brilliant imaginations. I want you to come up with 2 things that in your wildest imagination, you would absolutely be blown away if it could happen. And the rule for this is that you have no idea how it could ever in a million years happen. You don't know anyone, you don't know the process, whatever it might be. It might be, I don't know, write the next, win an Oscar for a screenplay of a book that you wrote or something like that, or get a Netflix series or win some amazing author prize or sell a certain number of books, which you just think is insane. Write it down, be very specific. Because my hope is, Mark, this time next year, we'll get some people who'll say, remember that Christmas special where?
Yeah.
Because there's enough people out there in the world. But
definitely.
I always say, and this is a very important thing, I always say that before something can happen in your life, it has to be first imagined. And you have to believe that it could happen. And with the magic of Christmas, we know that anything's possible. Anything's possible. So, this is a process of actually allowing the beginnings of these ideas or the right people in your life to show up who are maybe going to help you get there. Because again, we never know the journey. We never know who might show up. But when you first imagine it, it's become real in your mind, and then when you write it down, it becomes real in the world. It's literally there on a piece of paper that you can see on your screen. And there's something that's magical for me that happens when I do that, and that it's a bit like birthing a baby. It's like the beginning of the journey, and it's
two blokes talking about
yeah. No, but you.
No, I know what you mean.
You know what I mean?
There is a lot to be said for being able to visualize something happening. It does. I think. Yeah. I do think, without getting woo woo, it's just a practical thing. Is that you think, okay, yeah, that is doable. I can actually do that, and it just makes it that much more realistic.
Yeah, and I've always said to people, Mark, as well. I always love doing this exercise in my coaching, where I say, look around you and I'll pick something up and hold something. So I've got like, I don't know, this water bottle, for example, and for this to actually appear today in my hand as a physical object, somebody had to first imagine it, and not just imagine, I'm going to do a water bottle, but they had to design it. They had to think about it. They had to think about, well, I'm going to do the screw tap with all these bits of, I'm going to make it blue, and because they thought about it beforehand, it's now exists in the world. And the same is true for your goals. If you can imagine them beforehand, then you allow them potentially to exist in the world. So,
speaking of goals, what did Rudolph want for Christmas?
I don't know. What did Rudolph want for Christmas?
A pony sleigh station. That's from Andrew Chapman. Thank you very much. I wonder, Andrew, did that take you 24 hours to write as well? That's a good one. I like that. Thank you.
That's really good. Again, something you wouldn't read in the Christmas cracker. We should probably have, maybe we should be like, was it Russell Brand did the alternative Queen's speech? We should have the alternative Christmas cracker jokes.
Like alternative comedy.
Absolutely brilliant. How did Scrooge win the football game, Mark?
I don't know.
The ghost of Christmas passed.
Very good.
Love it. Brilliant stuff. So folks, if you enjoyed this little kind of mini coaching session around goals, this is the kind of thing that I do in the Academy. I work on life coaching for writers. It's all about the inner game of writing. It's all about the mental things that hold us back or help us excel. And Mark focuses on all the incredible craft side, how do you construct a story, the plot, the characters, and that's as deep as you want to go with that. But people are often kind of like, well, what's right life coaching for writers? We talk about goals. We talk about what I like to call the inner game of writing, which is setting yourself up for success. Because I've always said you can be the best writer in the world, but if you don't have the confidence, or you don't have the built up the self-esteem and believe that this can actually happen, you can finish that book, it often won't. And it's the other half of the coin that's often missing. So if you're interested in having Mark and I as your coaches for next year, we've opened the Academy doors for 2023. You can register now. You need to get in before the first week in January. So pop along to academy.bestsellerexperiment.com. And if you need any more convincing about the value of what it can bring you in your writing life, just have a listen to the podcast episode 400. It's on that homepage of the Academy, where you hear the most amazing stories of 6 of our Academy members and their journey. And I'm sure a lot will resonate with you. And we would love to have you in the Academy so that we can get to meet you in person. We show up on Zoom, we get to chat, we get to coach, we get to read some of your work, and you get to become part of an amazing community and a supportive, encouraging community.
That's such a great bunch.
It's just amazing. It's such a brilliant experience. So please do go have a look at that.
What's the difference between a writer and Christmas dinner?
I don't know. What's the difference between a writer and Christmas dinner?
Christmas dinner will feed the whole family for weeks. That's from Christopher Wills. I remember he put that on Facebook. I said, that's dark, Christopher.
I love it. Absolutely love it. What did Santa say to the smoker?
I don't know.
Please don't smoke. It's bad for my elf.
Oh, dear Lord.
Oh, they're bad, aren't they? They're getting better. Who is Santa's favourite singer?
Go on.
Elvis Presley. Bottom of the barrel stuff now.
I once emceed a snowman's convention. I don't want to say it went badly. We got a very frosty reception. That's from Jeff White. Thanks for that, Jeff.
Brilliant. Oh my gosh.
And, I think we should. To top it off, I've got a poem here, and this is sent from award-winning best-selling author Ian W. Sainsbury. He said, I did write a Christmas poem a few years back. Excuse me. Brian, the brown-nosed reindeer, would often break into a canter. Upon catching sight of his boss, he's overly fond of old Santa. That's from award-winning author Ian W. Sainsbury. Thank you, Ian. Thank you so much for that.
Oh, we could keep going. How does Good King Wenceslas like his pizzas?
Deep pan, crisp, and even.
Oh,
it's a classic. It's a classic.
Brilliant. I've not heard that one before. That's brilliant. Brilliant stuff. I think we should wrap it up there, Mark. I think,
Well, we're not ahead.
Completely intended. And we just wanted to wish everyone, as this is our last episode of the year, we'd like to wish you all a very peaceful, healthy, and happy end to the year. And most importantly, a peaceful, happy, and healthy 2023. And we just want to say thank you to everyone from the bottom of our hearts for all the incredible, many, I would like to say thousands of communications that we've had. I think it is over the last year. All of the incredible wins, the heartbreaking stories that we've had, and the uplifting stories as well. It's been absolutely brilliant. And it's why Mark and I show up every single week, isn't it, Mark?
Yeah, all of human life is here and we love it. Now, and also just to give you a little taster for some of the authors we've got coming next year, we've already recorded interviews with Christian Cameron, Cole Haddon, Matt Cain, Lou Abercrombie, Peter May, and Simon Scarrow. And we've got many, many more booked as well. We've got a fantastic year ahead on the bestseller experiment. It's just such a privilege to chat to these amazing authors every week, and a privilege to speak to you folks, you listeners, and people in the Academy and people in the bestseller group and our patrons about their writing day. And it's just it's made me a better writer, and I absolutely love it. So I can't wait for a cracking 2023.
Brilliant stuff. So thank you so much, everyone. A happy Christmas, happy holidays, however you choose to celebrate, and happy New Year to everyone. And May 2023 be your best writing year yet. So it's a Merry Christmas from Mark 1.
And it's a Merry Christmas from Brian Blessed. Gordon's alive. Die.